Ooh, that looks tasty. Whoa, what are you doing, man? What is going on? This is a beautiful parking lot, an abandoned warehouse right here.
Look, man, all I know is that word from the top is we're rezoning this whole thing. It's gonna be some beautiful residential homes. And look, I gotta get down my punch list right now because I gotta get across town and start developing the brand new industrial complex. All right, so you're gonna have to get out of here.
Welcome, folks. Today, the Hungry Gamer is back with another game review. And today, we are talking about Zoned Out, published by Gray Fox Games, designed by Keith Rentz, with art by Jake Blanchard. Now, before I get going, please make sure you have turned on your Klingon subtitles, because if I make any mistakes, that is where you'll find them. And the last thing is, I'm very excited for this video today, because this is the first video on my fancy new Game Topper from Game Toppers. I appreciate Berkey, who really worked with me, helping me get exactly what it is that I needed for this new space. And I'm extra excited because my little studio is almost complete. I'm waiting for a couple more lights to come in, so I have some better light coming from over there. Anyhow, Zoned Out is a light tile placement game where you are working on developing the city better than your opponents and creating the largest and the best zones for various parts of the city, whether it be commercial or residential or industrial zones. You want to be the biggest and the best. Now, if you are not interested in how this game is played, you're going to want to jump ahead to the timestamp on the screen right now. For those of us still here, let's quickly go through what you're seeing in front. Currently, I have this game set up for 3 players, as you can see, 3 colors. Each player has a whole bunch of these stackable little building markers that they'll be stacking up as they play. They have their developer meeple, and they have 2 deeds as well. Then each player is given a single secret objective. Now these objectives are bonus scoring at the end of the game, and even though they are secret to different players, every player will score all of them. So I may, as the pink player, be the only one who knows this one, but everyone will score it at the end of the game. So if you're observant, you might figure out what it is I'm trying to do. Then over here we have 3 more that are open to everybody. We have redraw tokens, we have point markers, and we have our city cards. Start the game. Every player gets 3 city cards, except for the first player, who only gets 2. So we'll just assume that pink is going to be the first player, and I'll give 3 to my other players here. And I'm going to move these out of the way because you would not be able to see them. And again, these would be hidden in the normal game. Then you go through the phases of the game. Now, the very first turn is slightly different. And I should also tell you how you set this up. You set this up by you draw 4 cards and put them with their parking lots facing each other, and then you cover it with this downtown square. The very first turn, all that the first player does is they take their developer and they're going to put it on one of the spots, anywhere they want. And I will put it right here. And then they draw a card. And that's just for the very first turn. Then, after that, the first thing you do is you have the option to do a redraw, which means you can throw away as many of the cards as you want and redraw. But you take one of these. These are worth negative points at the end of the game, and they aren't exponential, but they do increase in severity. So 1's -1, 2's -3, 3 is -6, I believe, and so on. Then, what's going to happen is you are going to play one of your cards. And all you do is you pick one of your cards, and you're going to place it out wherever you would like. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this card right here. And you'll notice you have to cover up at least 1 square of an existing space on the tile. And what you're doing is you're slowly building out the city. And then you go and you place your developer in one of the city blocks of the tile that you just laid. Now I have started making a zone. To make a zone, what you're doing is you're putting like color orthogonally adjacent to like color. And in addition, it has to be as heavily developed, meaning 1, 2, or 3 buildings. So this is 1 pink. It's next to this other pink, which is a wild pink. And so since it's a wild that I'm using, I would just mark that. Then I end my turn, and I draw. That's it. Then we would go to the next player who would do the same thing. And so they're going to grab this card here, and they're just going to place it right there. They're also developing residential. And then they would draw a card. Now, none of that is particularly interesting at this moment. However, it does start to get interesting as you get a little bit further. So I have found myself as the pink a little bit walled off here, so I'm just going to kind of move somewhere else and just completely start over. Also, I don't really have good cards for that because I don't have anything that matches something. So I could, in theory, go here, and then we'd have these 3 heavy residentials, but yellow is in that zone, so I can't develop the zone at the same time. So I actually don't have any good options here. So I'm just going to go ahead and take a redraw token. I'm going to throw all 3 of my cards away and draw 3 more here. And now I can start building out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come right here, place that with my wild blue there, and I'm going to come here. Now, I left a zone. Even though it's a tiny zone, it's just this 1, 2 building industrial zone. So I now immediately develop it. As soon as you leave a zone, you immediately develop it. So what I do is I look, how many squares did I have? 1. 1 square equals 1 point. Then I look next to it and see if there's any pluses or minuses. In this case, there are not. But if you see here, parking lots are worth -1, parks are worth +1, museums are +2, warehouses are -2. You get the idea. But so I just earned a single point for that. Yay for me. And now I've started developing another zone over here. And so you get the idea. I'm going to fast forward a little bit and put some more things out and show you how this development works a little bit. Okay, so I fast forwarded here. And before I talk about what's about to happen, I did neglect to tell you one thing. When I developed that there, when Pink developed that and left and got his point, he needed to place 2 of his buildings on there. 2, because there's 2 in the density, and they go right on top, and that marks that he or she developed that one. And then every time you develop, you also place 1 building level downtown in what will be a skyscraper. It goes in whatever quadrant of the board you just left from. Now, I've just developed out over here for yellow a little bit. Clearly, it would be sprawling everywhere. And so yellow's over here, and now yellow has this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it should be right there, has this 5 block zone going. And let's say last turn he did that. There. So now he has this lovely 6 block zone. You'll see I did it that way because it doesn't matter how you develop. You don't have to just keep following a line. I went here, then I bounced back over here, but I wouldn't immediately develop because I'm in the same zone. Now let's just assume we're going all the way back around, and next turn, that's it. I was finally done, and I'm just going to jump over here next turn. That wouldn't be a very good play, but that's okay. So I've jumped over here. I've now left the zone. So the first thing I do is I count up how many squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 6. That is 6 squares, which equals 21 points. That seems pretty good, but then I have to do and get any minuses and pluses I have. So here, that's next to me, -1, -2, because again, it's next to it. Then I look for any pluses. I have a park there, +1, +2, +3. So I wound up coming out with 22 points for that. So I simply grab my 22 points, and then I place all of my squares. And I can take my deed back. And so there's my zone, and then I would go and place one here and downtown. Now, what does matter that I do need to point out is as you're playing, as you're moving around, people are going to be building zones all over. So these downtown squares are going to be continually getting higher and higher towards the end of the game. And there, again, there's all 4 of them, but that doesn't matter for the moment in my example. And so that's it. That's how you play the game. And you go until somebody runs out of these. When someone runs out of those, everyone gets one last turn and then the game is over. Or if you run out of these cards as well. Then at the end of the game, you have all of your points here from building, and then you check all of the secret objectives that we talked about at the beginning. They all get flipped over, and you go through and you Tally them up. Who had the most light industrial zones? A light industrial zone are these zones that are a single yellow. Score 2 points for each piece within the top 2 positions of each tower. So right here, top 2 positions are both yellow, so yellow would score 4 more points. Over here, pink has the top, so pink would score 2 points. And you get the idea. There's a whole stack of these cards that change up the game. Then the last thing that you do, well, the last 2 things that you do is you go through, you take away points for your redraw tokens. Again, they go up in negative value the more you have. And the last thing you do is you score your skyscrapers. Whoever has the most floors in the skyscraper gets 7 points, second most 5 points, third most 3 points. And then whoever has the most points is the winner. So that's it. That's how this game is played. It is actually relatively simple. So what do I like about this game? First off, I love the way that it looks on the table. You can't really see with this top-down angle, but when you're sitting at the table, it just grows and grows, and it just looks stunning, 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 stunning. And I love the colors. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful looking game. I also really enjoy the way you build the city out. It just slowly goes from a tiny little village into like this huge urban sprawl like is Los Angeles. Because at the end of the game, this would probably easily fill this entire area with just a 3-player game. And that is really, really delightful to do. I also enjoy these objectives. I think there's a nice thick stack of them, which really can make every game different. It makes for a lot of different strategies, especially because you can't go for all of them. You can't do it. You're not going to succeed. You have to pick a couple that you think you can do and kind of dive in and go for it. And then if I didn't make it fully clear, the components are wonderful in this game, I think. I also like the simple mechanics of the game. It is very simple to play. There's just not much going on, but it's really hard to master the game, and I enjoy that. I like the way you do the zones. I like how you're taking your cards and you're just slowly trying to find a way that you can build it out and keep going with what it is that you're doing. You're trying to get enough of the cards that are the right shape and well, okay, I can put this here, but I'm going to cover up all these other things. Oh, I might need that later, but nope, I'm going to do it. I'm going to cover it up now so I can keep going. And you're trying to maybe just get cards that are going to cover up a minus and just give you another bonus. But now I've left my zone, but gosh, now I got rid of the minus. Now I have 3 points. And it's a fun little tile laying with these overlapping cards, which is just really enjoyable to do. So I like that. And overall, I think it is a nice, gentle tile-laying game. It's not going to burn your brain too much. It does a little bit if you really are diving deep into a lot of these objectives. Sometimes you can sit there and think, gosh, what am I going to do? But for the most part, it's pretty simple. And I also like the scoring. I like this exponential point building that you get for larger zones. Yes, I know it's not actually exponential, but it can feel that way. So you're really rewarded for being patient. And so all of that I enjoy. But what are my quibbles about the game? Now, I've already talked about how much I like the way the game looks, but I will say, in-game scoring, when you have the whole thing out there and it's sprawling and there's buildings stacked up all over the place, sometimes it can be hard to score cards like this. Because this you have to say, okay, light industrial, okay, that's single blues. Well, it's easy to know if it's a single because there's only one cube there. Easy enough. But when this is all full of buildings, it can be really hard to figure out, wait, is that industrial or nope. That's a commercial zone. I need these. So it can be a little hard to score that way. I also don't know that the value added for having the secret objectives really adds a lot to the game. I think what it does is it adds this idea of you're trying to figure, what are they doing? Are they trying to do this? Should I try to go and do this objective that they're doing or try to foil them and figure out what they're doing? And I think it's just an unneeded bit of kind of deduction going on that I think takes away from this kind of nice, gentle puzzle type game that you're doing. I just think it's an unneeded element. It might be something that you love, so do bear that in mind. It just didn't do it for me, but I suspect plenty of people really enjoy it. And then my other quibble is, I understand that in all games, or in most games, there is some element of luck, clearly. But I feel like the luck to planning balance is more heavily weighed on the luck side in this game. What I mean by that is, I've already said how you're rewarded for making these large zones, and you are. But the problem is, you are at the mercy of luck, because you must play a card every turn, which means you must move your developer every turn. And it is completely possible that you're working on a plan, you're trying to do something, and you don't have a way to expand your zone. You take a redraw token, you draw 3 more, and you still don't have it. And that can be very frustrating, especially because there are objectives in the game that reward you for bigger zones. And that can feel very frustrating when you're sitting there and you have a plan and you cannot execute it and you have no way to do it. That can be, now this is less frustrating to me, but when I was playing with my wife, she was getting frustrated in a game or two because she had these plans, and it wasn't that I was outmaneuvering her or figuring out what she was doing. It was simply because she didn't have the cards to keep going. She took a redraw, then didn't get what she needed or could use, and so now all she wound up doing was losing a point. And that just felt very frustrating to her, and you might be frustrated like that as well if you're looking for a game that is more on the planning side and carrying out your plan and less on the luck side. Be opportunistic, see what you can get it now and go. Those are 2 different play styles. I'm more of the get it now and go. My wife's more of the execute my plan. So we had a different experience. Not necessarily a bad thing, but something to keep in mind and understand, because I do think with the theme of this, it seems like it would be more of a planning, execute your plan, less opportunistic. So there you have it, folks. That is Zoned Out. I think this is a lovely game. It looks stunning, just stunning when it's out there. It has some really clever mechanics of the stacking, overlapping tiles, and by the end of the game, you do have this huge, beautiful looking city. It's not hard to learn. It's not particularly hard to play. If you are the type that is looking for something like this, obviously this is a game to pick up. I will just say, if you're looking for something where you're creating a plan, executing that plan to the fullest, then this might not be the option that you're looking for. But if you're okay with this idea of, well, I'm just going to take what I can get and move on, then you're not going to be bothered by that at all. Overall, this is a very enjoyable game. Definitely worth checking out if you're into tile laying, if you like things with beautiful table presences. This definitely is an option that could be for you. So there you have it, folks. If I made any mistakes, please let me know in the comments with a timestamp. I'll get that into the Klingon subtitles. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share. You know how it works. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.